is the printed and interactive documents. We're going to concentrate on printed and interactive documents today by creating those with Pages3D. There's two products, Publisher3D and Pages3D. And really what Pages3D is about, how it's used, is it takes the 3D CAD information, including other things like metadata, images, drawings, 2D CAD that is, all kinds of different data, Excel spreadsheets that come out of PDMs. Those kind of things can be pulled into Pages3D, and then the page design and the 3D manipulation can be done within a single product, resulting in printed and interactive documents, both using a single application. There's a lot of different uses out there for, especially for manufacturing companies that are tied to 3D CAD tools such as SolidWorks, Inventor, ProE, CATIA, Unigraphics, or Siemens, that is. A lot of different uses down the pipeline here. Work instructions is a major use of our software, product documentation, technical data sheets, online catalogs, 3D PDF. Those are great for sending out to prospects and those kind of things. Product presentations, illustrated manuals, parts catalogs. Going back to work instructions or any of these really, we have customers that do not only regular printed ones and save 80% of their time putting those together, but they also are now starting to roll out interactive work instructions onto shop floors that really make it not only easier to create the instructions, but delivers additional information to the assemblers down there on the line. The same kind of strategy can be implemented for different uses. And illustrated parts catalogs, that's another significant use where you can rapidly generate, the standard manuals that have a parts list on one side and a exploded ballooned view on the other side. And then that can also be moved into a more interactive setting where clicking parts can highlight and identify parts that need to be ordered from a spare parts catalog, etc. Quadraspace is a very different product, especially when you start to look at Pages3D. Our Publisher3D has a number of different competitors at different levels. The Pages3D product is a very unique product because of its ability to combine the 3D with the page design. And as a company in general, what we really seek out is to provide software that has affordable pricing, that are desktop solutions that can be easily installed and used without working through large integration efforts or anything like that. And then integrated capabilities, which means that you have everything you need to get your job done in a single software. So you're not going to have to jump between different packages to get from that 3D. You're going to load solid assembly or something, for example, directly, and you're going to result in either document or just the illustrations if that's what you're looking for. So today, the highlight is on this product, Pages3D, and like we mentioned, we're going to make both printed and interactive documents during our demo. These are just some of the highlights of the product itself. They're on the side there, and then on the bottom you'll see the update tools, large project automation. Those are some of the things that you would find in the professional version of the product. But for the most part, most of the things we'll show today will be found in the standard version, and it starts at $9.99. There are a few things. We've tried to leave out most of the professional version items for our advanced features demonstration next week, and I'll give you the information on that following this demo. So I think at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and bring up Pages and go through a demo with you. So at this point, you should be able to see the Pages3D user interface. This is the quick start menu for the 2011 version of our product, which we recently released a couple weeks ago. From here, when you're starting a document, you can either start a new one from scratch or you can work from a template. And we're going to do both in this demo. First, we're just going to do a a quick run through of starting a document from scratch so that you can see kind of how the whole process works. So when I hit New Document, what I'll be given is a blank page in Pages 3D, and we can begin to author on this page by adding our own 3D, adding our own text, adding interactivity, and such. Before I do that, let me do a quick run through of the ribbon. Starting on the left here, we have a home ribbon where you can do things like insert new pages, bring up your project panel, which will show you everything in your project. The insert ribbon allows you to add elements to the page itself. For example, to add a text box, you just click this and drag it out. To add another 3D view, you take this and drag it out, for example. Layout, setting up the page of the documents, columns, margins. If we want 2 columns, we'll just go with that. Let's actually go with 3 columns. To illustrate, once we have 3D imported into this document, we'll be able to use this to capture 3D views and to add ballooning and markups to those. And then the storyboard allows us to organize multiple illustrations into a series for animation reasons or for just organizational reasons. The 3D view ribbon allows you to adjust the render style or the look of the entire scene being drawn. Materials allows you to click on different parts of your model and modify those materials either by directly editing them or by applying something from our stock library of materials. The model ribbon gives you pretty good control of creating exploded views, managing parts lists, and accessing or generating metadata per parts. And the configurations ribbon allows you to manage different configurations of your 3D design. So, for example, configurations are very powerful for large projects that allow you to take a large assembly and break it down into manageable chunks, subsets for your documentation efforts, and also ability to merge your models. And then when you're done, you actually have a publish ribbon, and you just go through and choose the method of which you'd like to publish, and that's the final result of your authoring in here. So let's jump in and let's get started here. If I was going to create a document from scratch, the first thing I would do is go to the home ribbon, and we would import a 3D model. And I have this solid assembly that I'm going to use. I think this is the one. That's it. And we'll just bring that model in, and you can see once we have brought that in that we have a 3D view on our document page that has been placed on here. And similar to PowerPoint or Office or something, it's in this edit page mode right off the bat. So the first thing you can do is take this view and position this on your document page. So if we want to say place this over onto this side of the page, maybe we want to resize it so that it fills up the whole bottom of our page, we can do so. And then let's say we want to add a text box. We're going to make a very simple document here from scratch. So we'll just take a text box, we'll place that across the top, and we'll just say this is let's just give it a title, simple document. And you notice that when I mistype a little bit here, I'm getting a underline there. It's a spell checker, so I can just go in and change the spelling. And we're going to go with 24-point font. Let's bold it, center it. So it all works, very simply, straightforward at this point. But we haven't messed with the 3D yet. We haven't done anything to manipulate the 3D. To do that, the manual way is to turn off this edit page by clicking that button. Alternatively, you can double click and it will change between those two modes. So now that you're in this mode, you can see that we can use the mouse to zoom in and out of our 3D model. I can use the left mouse button to rotate. I can use any of these tools. So say I want to pan it, I can just grab the pan tool. I can click front or any of these different viewpoints to get through the viewpoints here right inside our document. Let's go back to rotate. I work in rotate a lot of the time. And then we have the viewpoint panel here that allows you to pick standard views, dimetric, isometric. You can also pick from a whole library of standard axonometric views, and axonometric views is just it means isometric, dimetric, or trimetric, but these are all industry standard views that can be used continually through a document so that you get the same viewpoint for every scene or something. You can also take these same views from different angles of your model along the bottom at any point. And if you want, you can even dial in a custom view. For example, I can click the front button. I can say I want to offset of 15 and I want to look at a tilt of 45. So you can dial in your own precision views and use those to maintain consistency throughout a document. Some other things that you can do with the 3D tools very simply is on the 3D view ribbon here, we can actually set up our draw style. So if we want to have shaded with edges, we can simply select that from the 3D view ribbon. We can use our mouse to change the highlighting color. So if I have a red highlight, maybe I want orange, I can change those kind of facilities for the thing. And there's some advanced things that come with 2011 that allow you to actually set up a ground plane below it to actually allow you to set up reflections and shadows. Those are all new with the 2011 product. And to generate a very a nice looking scene, depending on the type of your document. Many documents, this is the kind of imagery that you'd like because it's very clean and crisp. But if you're doing more marketing, then you can work with the shadows and other facilities. And let's say we just wanted to go through and add one more page to this document. Maybe we want to insert a simple 3D view on that page. I'm just going to put a little view up here. We're going to use most of this page, and we'll take the same model. We're not going to import a new one. That'll keep our file size down. And what we're going to do is add quickly a parts table to this. So we can just very easily click this and drag out on our document page a parts table. And we're going to make this an interactive table, sure. And what it's done is takes the parts list or all the parts that came in with this 3D design and has generated a parts list from those. Let's do some formatting here. And let's left adjust all these. We can also take this kind of a table here and we can modify. I'm going to bring up the properties panel here. We can modify the settings for it. So we can add a header, for example. We can change the way the coloring is. So we can do kind of a staggered light blue and white coloring with a gray header. So all those kind of things are very easily adjustable. The other key thing is once we go back into our non-editing mode, I can click on this table and it will highlight the associated parts in my 3D view. So it's very easy for me from a blank page to drag a view of my 3D model out and then simply drag out a parts table onto this page myself. Now, the next step of my demo, what we're going to do is we're going to go and generate a document using a template. I just wanted to show, to begin with, starting from scratch so that you got a good feel for how the product worked, and you realize that there's not a lot of smoke and mirrors in the templates here. If I wanted this as a template, I would just save this off as a template, and then I could reuse it for my basic documents from there on out. But we're going to start today. We're going to go ahead and let's just close that one. We kind of scratched that around, and we're going to go in here, and instead of doing a new from a blank page, we're going to do a new from template. And in this case, the product comes with the 50 or more than 50 stock templates. Like I mentioned earlier, you can save off your own, and then generally that's what people do, is take their own templates after maybe revising one of these stock ones, or either that or starting from scratch like we did just a second ago. Coming with the product, you have things like 3D viewers. It has a view of the model. Metadata displays here as different things that you create or selected. Illustrations with different buttons, so you press next and previous. Things like assembly instructions work very well with this, or product demonstrations. Different brochures. This one's a little more on the printed side. Data sheet here allows you to quickly import your model, type in your tables, type in your text, and result in a final printable document. Different ones like newsletters with different templates already set up, product data sheets, all kinds of things here. Catalogs designed to be text list based on kind of an IKEA approach to putting together catalogs. Let's jump on down to the instructions here. Today what we're going to do is use this quick start guide. And we're going to take this and we're going to generate a printable document. So we'll pick that template, and I'm going to load that same model we loaded just a minute ago. I just have to look and make sure. There it is. And we'll say open. And what this will do when I hit finish is it will take this 3D model that we selected and it will insert that into the template that we selected. So we'll start not just from scratch in this case. We'll start with a big head start here, and we'll be able to quickly, if you look here, we have multiple pages to start from. We have 3D models inserted where appropriate. And some of these are made to be used with smart templates. So I'm going to delete this one for now. We're going to use that in a second in a really clever automation way. So we'll delete that one and this one. And then there's a final one that is a parts list automatically ready to go. So, without any authoring, coming straight out of the box, we're able to create this document. And your job could be as simple as to orient the views to your needs and then to change the text to your own text. So this is power. We change our company name, or maybe you go insert a logo of your own company, ABC company. Type in different descriptions. This is just an image, just to point out that you can work with text, 3D views, all kinds of different data sets. This is just an image, and then you can resize it and position it as needed on your document page. If you want to insert any of your own custom images, there's an image button right here that inserts a standard image. That's how you would do a logo or any, a lot of times instructions have imagery that helps as well as the 3D process. And just like in the other example, you can double click and get into the mode where you can actually orient your 3D model. So let's just set up an orientation there. We're done with our first page. On the second page, maybe we just want to work with the circuit board on this page. Maybe we want to say this is a really fancy circuit board and then change the text to match that. We can do that by a very easy way. I'm going to bring up the model panel. And you can see this has the entire tree as it was in SolidWorks coming in here so that it's very easy to get to something like a board assembly. And we can, instead of selecting all those parts individually, I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to do an isolate. And then we'll deselect it, and we now have a scene that has our just the board assembly on this page. On the next page, I guess what we probably want to do is go in here and double click, change the text and say circuit board, and then you might want to either copy and paste from a source or type your text in directly, the description of the circuit board in this part. So, and maybe you want this to be bold. So go to our insert ribbon, bold, change the fonts in standard ways here. On the next page, what we're going to do here is I'm going to actually set up an exploded view right here inside the document as we're working that's going to have balloons that match the bill of materials that you saw on that other page. So let's get started on that. Setting up exploded view is relatively simple. We're going to go get our orientation, and we're going to go to the model, and we're going to create a new exploded view. This is from the model ribbon. And on the new exploded view, we're going to say OK. I'm going to click the cover, and I'm going to use the axis handle to pull that off. There's a number of different ways to to create exploded views. You can type in numbers directly. You can just drag things out without thinking about them really. You can, like we just did there, which is most common, you use the axis to pull on the handle. So we're just going to go through step by step here and create a quick exploded view. Now, we're going to use this exploded view in a couple of ways. Let's see, I need to zoom in here. First, we're going to use it for just our balloon scene here. But then additionally, in our next steps, we're going to actually use this exploded view to automatically create a bunch of pages of process instructions or step-by-step assembly instructions. So let's get a few things, get our assembly, our step-by-step process rolling here. I'm holding down Control, by the way, to add multiple parts to this. Another way I could select all these parts is from the tree, the assembly tree. Let's go through here. Another thing you can do with our exploded tools, and we'll talk about this a little more in our advanced session in a few weeks, or next week, is you can actually rotate and scale these components. It's not just limited to translations. And on the last one here, last step, we want to take the whole assembly board. So I'm just going to use the tree trick, pull that, and then we'll pull the assembly board out. Okay, so when we're done, there's a little done box up here. We can say we're done generating our exploded view. And we now have this exploded view that we've created. Another way to look at this exploded view is I can click this button here, and it tells me all the steps that we just generated. I can click any of these to go back into just the step itself. So that's another way to see what we're doing. You can reorder these if you have differences of order. I think you just right-click and you move up and down to do that. Okay, so our exploded view, let's go ahead and let's pick an isometric view of that. And then maybe we want to just do an HLR rendering here. So let's go to Hidden Lines Removed mode. And at this point, we can now capture an illustration. And this is going to capture this view, including the render style, the exploded state. Actually, before we do that, let's turn on trails. There's our trails. So it's going to capture all that information and make us a visual of that. And we'll just name it ballooned. And it goes into a mode that allows us to edit markups. You can see the orange border here indicates that any changes we make are going to update this named ballooned illustration. So they're permanent changes. You can revert back out of them, but it's just notifying you that you're going to change. And I'm going to insert callouts or balloons for specified parts. You can also use some automation tools to do that with automatically create from visible or selected. Another thing that we'll cover in our advanced session. It's real simple. So let's do an insert of a call out, and let's pull that guy out, and let's just pull all the numbering out here on a few parts here. And the thing here is these numbers are generated based on that parts list that we automatically generated when we imported the model. And we'll talk a little more about parts list, but the parts list, we have an automatic one generated here, but a lot of times you will want to import that from your PDM system, or you'll want to edit that, or you'll want to create one that's specific to just a subset of parts. And we support all of those things in the product. So we now have a ballooned image here. Just by dragging these off, if I go to, I think, 2 pages down, let's just delete this page. We'll see that we have a parts list here, and it goes from 1 to 27. Those parts numbering here are in sync with that, so you don't have to worry about your numbering not matching up with your parts list. And it was very easy for us to organize and pull all this together in this case. Now the next thing I want to do is we're going to show the parts in one other way. There's a capability inside the product called Smart Template Technology. And what this means is that you can take structures such as a parts list or an exploded view, and you can automatically generate multiple pages of information based on those. So for starters, a very simple way of doing that is to take and do a new page. We're going to pull down here, and we're going to pick this template. That's one of the templates that came in with this package that we selected earlier. And we're going to insert a view for every part. And that's a part in a bill of materials. So if I hit next, it'll make sure that we select the parts list we want to work with. We're going to use the master one here, and we're just going to show one. Even if there's 4 parts, we're just going to show one of them in the scene here. So when we hit finish, this will automatically go and generate as many pages as it needs to fill in those 27 items in that parts list. So you can see we now have, looks like we're on page 5 of 9. So it inserted 4 or 5 pages of isolated views. So we have an isolated view here. It used the metadata, a quantity, and it was able to pull that information off of this scene or this part and display it as text. Now this here can be customized based on, you can set up your own template and put any metadata field that you would like in this area so that your document can be custom. Say you have parts numbers that you want to show, that those can be displayed here. And as we go click through the different pages, you'll notice we have an isolated view for every single part in that parts list. And we didn't have to go manually generate all these views, but we have a very nice, clean assortment of views. And now, as the author, I'm just going to go and delete these ones that didn't get filled in. And we have created a nice another way of working with the parts in our 3D model. The second part of this document creation process I'm going to do is take that exploded view, and we're going to automatically generate an assembly process from that. So first, let's put in a new page, and let's do a little bit of let's just put a title on here. Templates are great, but quite often you'll just have to go in and type in some of your own pages, assembly instructions, period. No period. It's title. And then we'll just give it a font of 72 is a little big, 36. Almost selected there. So there we go. So we have a title instruction for the assembly process, and now we're going to use the smart templates again. We're going to pick a little different template, this one. And we're going to insert a view for every explode step. And this is going to be based on that exploded view we created just 3 minutes ago. So we'll just pick it, exploded view 1. And then we're going to pick some options. We're going to reverse the steps because we're making assembly processes. We're going to go ahead and visually select every part as they're assembled. We're going to hide parts until they're needed. And that should do it. We'll hit finish. And again, this will go through and generate multiple pages for our document that we don't have to go and do manually now. And we'll end up with a step-by-step process. And you can see the parts are not shown until they're needed. So the first step is installing this circuit board. Actually, let's just go ahead and type the text in to say that. Install the circuit board. And this is pretty much the process your author would have to go through here. Install the I/O board. I'm not going to do it for all the steps, but you get the point. And you can see how it does a step-by-step process. Install these, install that, that you can go and work from all the way until the final assembly is put together. There's the last step of putting the lid on, and here's what the results are. For each of those, you could go and add balloons and call-outs and markups as needed, and then you can add text and descriptions as needed. So it's very versatile on how you set it up, and if you need to add more information, you can stick an image in there or freely author as needed. But this gives you a very quick start, and a lot of times it's a good amount of information to get people assembling properly. So we could say now we have a 15-page document that we've generated in about 10 minutes here. And this could be published. In general, we were creating a printed manual here, so it could very easily be published to a print or to a PDF that's just a regular old PDF with high-res imagery built into it. Or if you wanted to, you could share this with all these views still maintaining interactivity, or you could set up a single view to be interactive and publish the rest of it to PDF without the interactivity. That's a pretty common thing for people to do. So that would be your next step. And then there's a couple things left in my demo today. One is I'm going to talk a little bit about updates. We're going to show those at the advanced one, though. And then I'm going to show how to make a very rapid interactive 3D PDF using the information we've already created. So let's just save off this one here. Let's call this Demo 11. And we're going to save off the model pieces just by itself. So let's go back to our home. If I pull up the project ribbon, I did that by going to home and then clicking this little extended groups property icon here. And it pulled up the project panel, and you can see we have 15 pages in our document. Just a little tip here. This is where you would be able to reorganize your pages. Dragging them to different spots on this tree here would do that. But what I'm really here for is to show that this is the model that we did all this work on, and we have different illustrations and different configurations. So I'm just going to right-click this, and I'm going to export this as a QSM. That will allow us to reuse the work we did here, the exploded view, for example, in a different document style. So we're going to export that, and we'll just say power supply demo 11. And that will save off just the model component. It won't save off the page design side of it. And that allows us to do what we're going to do next, which is go in and do a new from template. And we're going to do a very rapid 3D PDF here. We're going to take an engineering document. There's a bill of materials one here. We're going to browse, and instead of bringing in the solid assembly, we could do that, but we're going to bring in the QSM, quadrants-based model. And the reason we're doing that is so that we can reuse that exploded view we already created. And we'll hit open. And then what this will do is insert the 3D model we were working on in one document into the template layout of another document. So this document, very simple, straightforward, has a couple buttons. I can hit explode, and it will animate the explode sequence of that part. I can hit assemble, and it'll put it back together. Then I can click on any of the items in my parts list, and it will highlight that item in the 3D scene. And from there, you can publish this. I'm not going to do it because we're kind of running out of time, but you can publish to a PDF. And under 3D settings, if you want it to be interactivity, if you want to maintain the ability to rotate that 3D model once it's in a PDF format without any plugins or anything, you'll just want to check this, publish interactive 3D. And then there's some various options that you can check on how it actually gets published. And then you would hit create PDF, and that would generate you a PDF that looked just like this, had a 3D model that was rotatable inside the PDF, and then the interactivity would be maintained. You'd still be able to click the different buttons or click the different elements in the tree. Now, before I get to the final part of this and the questions, I just want to make a mention of update capabilities. The product includes the ability to update a document. It's right here under the configurations ribbon. And this is used when your 3D CAD design changes, so your engineering department has revised the solid assembly or the inventor model, and you need to update your documents. It's a simple process of updating using this button and selecting the revised design. It can have the same file name, but you re-import the 3D model, and all of your graphical content will be updated to match the 3D, the new 3D content coming out of engineering. That means that your work, such as exploded views, won't be disrupted. You'll still have those. You'll still have all the viewpoints and all the markups and everything that you've worked on as a documenter side, and but you'll have a revision of the document to be revision 2 or 3 or whatever. And we'll talk about it in a lot more depth. If you're interested in that one and more, then I encourage you to come to the advanced features webinar that we'll have, I think, next Tuesday. So that's pretty much my basic demo for today. We're going to take some questions here at the end. Let me flip back to the presentation, and I would like to go through the last of the presentation here, and then I'll take the questions. Okay, so you should now, let's see. Let me make sure you guys are able to see this. Showing, okay, you should now see the PowerPoint. Oops. Now, I'm just going to point out one of the major Pages differences, it should be pretty obvious by now after seeing the demo there, is the integration of 3D and page design. We were doing all our 3D work right there inside the document authoring environment, and we were doing all the document authoring right there with the easy ability to just step over, work on 3D as needed. I mean, we did exploded views and we typed some text. We generated step-by-step processes and we typed the descriptions around that. So putting those all together makes it a lot easier to put these documents together. And that's one of our major differences. Let's see. Okay. As I alluded to a few times, we're going to have an Advanced Features 2011 webinar. There's a sign-up link here. I'll send this out to everybody this afternoon after the demo so that you can sign up for this one too. It's going to cover the following: large model management, which would be a lot of configurations, the updates that we talked about. We're going to put it more depth on the smart template technology. I showed you a couple very easy ways of using that, but there's some very significant ways of tying that to configurations and to using it in even better time savings ways. I'm going to put some more emphasis on bill of materials, how to work with those, what kind of steps you might expect to do to get bill of materials in from your PDM system, etc. We may talk a little more about exploded view tools, the ability to scale, group, rotate those instead of just the straightforward translations that we did today. You can also merge models. So say you have a Pro E and SolidWorks, you want to bring them together. You can do that within Quadraspace. And we may go over some of the custom user libraries and the material library in a little more depth in the advanced features one. So you don't really have to write that down. I'll send you that link following this demo. Publisher 3D, that's the other product line that we offer for creation of illustrations and animations. We did a demo on this a couple weeks ago. If you missed that, send me an email or reply to the follow-up you'll get this afternoon and say, I'd like a link to the, just let me know you'd like a link to the video. We've put it online so that you can go access it and view it at your own time. And there's that webinar. We showed a few things today, quite a bit. There's a lot more depth to the product. This just kind of points out that there's a lot more things that you can do. If we didn't cover something and you think might have been important, it may not be because the product doesn't have it. It's likely because we just didn't have time to cover that. And this is how we kind of match up against others in the market. In the Pages 3D side, we're pretty unique, so it's hard to find direct competition that both combines the 3D with the page design together. I think you might can get to something, I don't even know, but something that's attempting to do closer is to those very expensive dynamic publishing solutions that merge the text, but it's a little more of a process instead of an authoring tool in that case. So, and then we talked about how Publisher 3D matches up with some of the competitors in the previous seminar. So what next? Here's some links for you to jot down. Pages 3D starts at only $9.99, so it's easy to get rolling with. We also have a trial online if you want to go give it a try. Bring in some of your own models, put together your own document. Let me know how it goes. Let me know what I need to help you get started with. I'll be happy to. And then we have another webinar, as I mentioned, next week. And there's the link for that. And again, I'll send that out in a webinar. So at this point, that's pretty much the end of my normal demo. I'm going to look through questions here now and see if some I may answer now, some I may answer offline if they're a little more specific to an individual. But I appreciate everybody joining and attending the webinar. And give me about 2 minutes, maybe a minute, just to look through some of these questions and see what kind of answers I can come back with. Okay. Oh, I got one question on how do you integrate to PDM systems. That is a good question, and our approach is to use data that comes out of the PDM system in an Excel spreadsheet format, and then we have import and export capabilities to tie those back together using our software. And we'll talk about that much more directly in the advanced session, so that's definitely something that a topic for that session. Let's see, another question. Are there drawing tools to add items that aren't modeled in CAD, tubing and wiring, etc.? Yes, in the way we do that is a very simple method of drawing 3D drawing regular elements into a 3D scene. So it's we look at it as 3D markup, so that you would capture an illustration, and then you would draw. And then you would draw the wiring in onto a 3D plane, tubing, etc., onto the 3D plane. Now, it's not going to put actual 3D objects in there. We've kind of drawn the line that the 3D objects are worked within a CAD tool, but that you can draw those in. You can also merge things like screws and tubing in too. We have merging of 3D, but not the ability to directly generate 3D. Let's see. In regards to the import of updates, how can we retain revision control? In regards to the import of updates, how can we retain revision control? The revision control on our side is mostly we excuse me. We identify the previous CAD files that were imported into the document, and you're able to import a new revision or an old revision. But in general, most of the revision control we've left to a standard file management or PDM systems for maintaining when this document may need to be updated or not. I'm going to get back with you in more detail on that question because I probably can answer it a lot better if I know a little more about exactly what your process is and what you're looking for. So I'll get back with you on that question. Let's see. Any way to create notes with leaders? I want to point to a specific component and provide some information about them. Certainly. The way we did callouts that pulled the ballooning off, it's a very similar process to create notes. The notes can be text that you would type in yourself, or the text would be based on metadata that you might import from either a PDM or a CAD system. So, sorry, I'm running out of non-scratchy voice here. Yeah, you can drag off notes as much as you want. Let's see, next question. Can dimensions be entered, i.e. max height of components, minimum clearances, etc.? Yeah, right now we have some pretty rudimentary dimensioning tools that allow you to measure from point to point. Internally, we're working up some much more improved dimensioning tools that would be in a lot more of the very accurate style there. So you can enter dimensions with the current tools. It's just not exact. It's more of a point-to-point, like I was saying, instead of a edge-to-edge or those kind of more advanced capabilities. Let's see. Can you edit the size of the window? I got a lot of questions here. I don't know if we'll get through all of these, but can you edit the size of the window showing the assembly steps so 3 or 4 steps are on each page? Certainly. Size of the window, sure. Even that 6, we had that one template, for example, that had 6 views. We used it for the part by part, isolated part view. You could easily use even that same template to show the to do the assembly processes, and they would all stick. That would be 6 views on a page. It just happened that our template had 2 views on a page, and so the templates are completely configurable to what you as the user want to set up. And that's another thing that we'll talk about in advanced is setting up your own template. I think that sometimes people get a little lost there, but it's really simple. It's straightforward as can be. Next question. On updates. Do you work with the family tables in Pro E? The answer to that in general is yes, but you have to have the accelerator files. This is a question very specific to Pro E users. There's a file called accelerator file that in Pro E, I think it's a properties. You can just turn it on and say, save off accelerator files. And if those are saved off and in the proper directory, when we import, the family tables will be honored based on those accelerator files. If you have any further questions on that, or am I missing some of the details on that question exactly, please feel free to hit me up with the harder question if there is one. Let's see. Can I create full keyframe animation sequences, or is animation limited to automated explode based on components start/end locations? Not exactly sure on the question, but our animation capabilities, I did those in a little more detail in Publisher 3D demo. It's valid in this demo as well, but there was a lot to cover. We have a storyboard for our animation, and each scene in that storyboard captures a view, a 3D view, and what you do is sequence those and then set up transitions between those. So an exploded based on, I'm not sure exactly on the question here, but it's pretty customizable on how to set up your animations, and I'll just get back with you online and offline to make sure that I answer that question completely. But storyboard and different keyframes is the way we do animations. Okay, another one. If you missed one of the 4 screws when exploding them, can you go back and reselect and re-explode it? And can you subsequently alter the distance? Yes. When I showed after we make the exploded view, I showed you that a panel that had the list of steps. On each of the steps, you could go back and click. Let's say you go back to the one where the 4 screws were and you missed one. You click the one that had the 3 screws, in this case, outlined, and you would just say edit this step, and then you would hold down Control and click the other screw, and it would pop into that same area. That's how you could add that screw to the set. To change the distance, you would then use, when you're in that edit mode, you'd still have that handle there, so you could very easily modify that step. Next question. Do you support the latest version of SolidWorks? Yeah, the latest version of SolidWorks is supported, and right now the 64-bit exporter, we have that coming out shortly. Right now we only have 32-bit exporter, so which means that our exporting tools only work with 32-bit SolidWorks, but very shortly we'll have a SolidWorks 64-bit. Actually, let me make one thing to that. We don't support the latest version of SolidWorks yet. I do internally. That's why I said that. We have been waiting on SolidWorks to provide the direct import of that, so that we don't have to require people to have SolidWorks. And they have provided that now, and we should have that released soon on the 2011 SolidWorks. So 2010 and the others we can get to, and we support the latest version of SolidWorks within a few months every time. So, do you support native CATIA files? Not at this time. The best route that I've heard for that is through STEP, saving CATIA files to STEP. Does it work within Windchill environment or other PLM software? Our files are a single file format so that they can be managed by any PLM, PDM system. We don't have integrations with the data within those systems, and we do that through Excel spreadsheets, which we'll talk about in the advanced session. I'm trying to go through these as fast as I can, guys, because I still got quite a few. And if I miss your question or if I don't give a good answer, please hit me back up. I like features of your products. I'm not clear on the differences between the two, though. I seem to remember making assembly sheets with the first product, too. Sure. Publisher 3D, I guess you can think of it as generating content. So example, a lot of times Publisher 3D be used to make imagery, and that imagery would then be used to be put into another document like a Word document or InDesign or anything else. So if you want to continue using your own authoring tools, then Publisher 3D is the product for you. It fits into that process. Now, if you want to, so Publisher 3D is generally used in tandem with something else for displaying the results. Pages 3D is more along the lines of standalone. You don't need Word and you don't need InDesign. You generate the entire document. So it's really a question of how you want to work, on which product works best for you. Does the program support drawings with cable and wiring such as Pro cabling from Pro E? I don't know the answer to that without real, I guess, testing it. Different third-party packages work with their 3D in different ways, and it's hard to answer that without giving it a try. So that's what I'd encourage you to do, is to just to import it and see if that works with the Pro cabling. And I would love to get feedback on if that worked or not for you. Is there an option to embed sound objects? Not at this time. The multimedia that we have built into it is the ability to import movies, video clips. We have thought about doing sound, but right now I don't have a firm answer on when and how. Can I auto-create bookmarks from illustrations? I believe that you can. I'm not. I'd have to look into that. I'll try to reply to that one offline once I do a little exploring. I know you used to be able to. Unless we remove that capability, it's probably still there. In different sized illustrations, how do you get the call-out balloons to be the same size? In different sized, that's a good question. Don't have a good answer for that. Let me see if I can come up with a good process for that one too. Let's see. Do your interactive PDFs require a plugin? No, they do not. They are based on the general 3D capabilities built into the Adobe Reader these days. We highly recommend Adobe Reader 9.0 though, because some of the earlier Adobe attempts at 3D were not very satisfactory. Can I reuse exploded views from Pro E? I don't believe you can from Pro E, but you can from SolidWorks and Inventor. I know that doesn't help you as a Pro E user, but I wanted to mention that. And do you read SpaceClaim native files? We don't right now. We're considering moving a little in that direction, but we're not certain yet, given the market share, I guess, that SpaceClaim has at this point. So we're still looking into that one. We have had a few requests for that. And what about CATIA native files? That was, I answered that earlier. That was, CATIA is imported. We don't support CATIA native. You can import step files generated from the CATIA save as. CATIA save as step will generate some files. And we have customers that use the software in that way. Again, another file format we definitely have on our radar. We just have not done it yet. So I think that I have made it through all the questions. I might have missed one or two here. I don't think so, but if I did, please let me know. Either way, I'll try to follow up with some of those that I couldn't give a great answer for right now, and I'll try to follow up with those before the end of the day. But again, thanks everybody for joining us. Appreciate your time, and hopefully the presentation was able to help you learn a few things here and there about our product line and about what fits for your needs. Have a great afternoon.